Things are going well in Delaware.
They're going well, but we want to keep making things go better. The bottom line is we are very, very business friendly, and to the extent that anybody who is watching this show is thinking about where they want to expand, come talk to us in Delaware.
Can you be too accommodating to business? There's this whole debate, Main Street, Wall Street. Tell me about, the corporate tax rate. You have an 8% corporate tax rate, but there's a perception that companies that may incorporate there, that diminishes revenue opportunities in other states.
The companies that choose to incorporate in Delaware do so because they really understand our law. We've got the best business court in the country, and we've got a terrific division of corporations, which is very efficient. But businesses want to locate in our state because we've got a great workforce.
And there are jobs. I mean, when you look at the unemployment rate, lower than the national average.
It's lower than the national average, but we don't allow ourselves any time for self-congratulations on that, because the fact is there are still people in our state who'd like to be working and who are not. So my job, very simply, is to put myself in the shoes of the people who create the jobs, focus in on the things that they care most about, and then execute.
How do you do that? I know you're visiting lots of companies all the time. Tell me how you create jobs.
Well, the main thing is to recognize that government doesn't create the jobs. I mean, our role in government is to create the kind of nurturing environment that businesses want to be in. And so we listen very carefully to what they're telling us. And it's across industries, whether it's the old DuPont, which used to be chemical, but now moving toward biologically based materials, and W.L. Gore and AstraZeneca, the financial services industry, all terrific. Amazon just broke ground on a major distribution center. But we are just as excited about the smaller businesses in our state. So our job is to make sure that businesses, entrepreneurs, business leaders across a range of industries find Delaware to be attractive.
So, this is so important because we're having this debate on a national level right now. How do you create growth? And, one idea is to, raise taxes for business. And the other idea is to make it what you're doing, encourage business to create jobs. So let me ask you about this whole debate that we're having on a national level about fiscal responsibility. Spending, obligations like Social Security, Medicare. What is the biggest challenge to you in terms of keeping your balanced budget for the state?
Well, of course, at the state level it's different because 49 of the 50 states, including Delaware, we are required to balance budgets. And so it has meant during some really difficult times that we've had to make some tough decisions. A few years ago, painful, but we had to cut the pay of our state employees. Our view all along has been to take a balanced approach, and businesses get that. The folks who are creating jobs get that. And what they care most about, I know there's a big focus on some other issues, but workforce is what it's all about. The CEO of Gallup recently wrote a book called The Coming Jobs War. There are 3 billion people in the world looking for jobs, 1.2 billion jobs available. We are in a global war for jobs. It is that simple.
That's really a good way to put it, actually. So what is that pro-business environment in Delaware? What does that teach you about educating the next generation of workers, ensuring that U.S. workers have what they need, the skill sets that they need to actually thrive in this uncertainty?
We spend a lot of time making sure that what we're teaching in our schools, in our community college, in career and technical schools, that there's a linkage between what we're teaching and the skills that are actually valued in the marketplace. And so there's a lot of interaction with local businesses who can tell us what are the skills they need. Sometimes we actually ask for their help in writing the curriculum, particularly at the community college level. The skills linkage is critically important.
What do you make of the president's relationship with the business community? He's perceived as anti-business.
I'm asking business leaders to take a hard look because, in my experience, he's done a couple really important things. Just recently, he signed the Jobs Act, which makes it easier for smaller companies to go public. Critically important because there's a lot of research that says a lot of job creation takes place right after an IPO. This is something he signed not too long ago. He's had a big focus on export promotion, a focus on foreign direct investment. And of course, he made some really tough decisions that proved to be the right thing with regard to saving the automobile industry. So those are tough decisions, and I think people ought to be taking a hard look at that.
Do you think that the two sides will come together in terms of, addressing this fiscal cliff? We know at the end of the year the tax cuts expire, spending programs expire. Companies will be forced to cut workers when they're not going to get that federal money, and those spending programs expire. Are they going to address this fiscal cliff?
I certainly hope so, and for those of us in states, and we realize how dependent we are upon what goes on at the national level, we are certainly expecting them to have the same kind of functional relationships that many of us have, and certainly that we have in Delaware.
Governor, it's great to have you on the program.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Governor Jack Markell here.